heart of Peterborough. This is Salam Radio.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر وإن يروا آية يعرضوا ويقولوا سحر مستمر وكذبوا واتبعوا أهواءهم وكل أمر مستقر ولقد جاءهم من الأنباء ما فيه مزدجر حكمة بالغة فما تغني النذر فتول عنهم يوم يدعو الداعي إلى شيء نكر خش عن أبصارهم يخرجون من الأجداث كأنهم جراد منتشر مهطعين إلى الداعي يقول الكافرون هذا يوم عسر كذبت قبلهم قوم نوح فكذبوا عبدنا وقالوا مجنون وازدجر فدعا.
Hello, welcome to the Winning Women Show. This is the show where I showcase trailblazing women to you to inspire you and motivate you in your journey to success. Welcome, I am Iram Shah. Every fortnight I bring to you a new female guest from a variety of different fields. As networking is so important to progress yourself, I wanted to bring to you one of the finalists for the upcoming award show, Severa Awards in London, which looks like a great event. Today's guest will be Saima Duhari, founder of It's Halal. Let's talk to Saima about how she went from zero experience to having an award-winning show. And before we do, I would love for you to get involved. You can call us on 01733 602 133, or you can text us on 074 11 191062. Let's welcome Saima. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Saima.
Hi. Hi, Iram. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Saima.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me on the show. I appreciate it.
Saima, in your own words, tell us what is It's Halal.
So, It's Halal is UK's first halal non-subscription recipe box, where we provide you with all the pre-portioned ingredients with an easy-to-follow recipe card so you can cook lovely, delicious meals at home without the hassle of deciding what to cook every evening.
And how long has it been in action? How long have you had this business set up?
So I started back in April 2019. So mashallah, we've been going for now, nearly 4 years.
Fantastic.
However, we have rebranded during that period of time, and now we're called It's Halal. But formerly we were known as Halal Fresh.
Right, and now you're It's Halal.
Yes, we're It's Halal.
And why food, Saima? Why did you create a business around food?
Food, well, as you know, within our culture, food is always a centerpiece of what we do. And I don't know whether you yourself, but in my family home, the kitchen is always the lounge, rather than the lounge being the lounge, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's Asians, isn't it? Food, everything's centered around food.
Everything is centered around food. And so for me, it was just a natural thing for me to embark on this, because A, I love eating, B, I love feeding, and C, I just love experimenting with cuisines and ingredients and seeing what I can create and develop, because for me, food is where life begins, if that makes sense. It's an energy for me, food is. And when you bring people together over food, it's such a lovely feeling. It's like, for instance, when you go out with friends and what have you, you always meet over dinner, right? As Muslims. That's what we tend to do. We meet over dinner, not so much over lunch or breakfast, because that's more of work is lunch, and breakfast obviously is at home unless you have it at work. But for me, lunch is when you bring people together, friends together, family together, and it's a very bonding experience. So for me, it was just, it was humbling that I was able to embark on this journey, as we said earlier on, with zero experience.
Mm-hmm. And Saima, what was it that you were doing in your kitchen one day that you just decided, right, I'm going to turn this passion into a business? Was there a particular moment, a particular something you were making, something someone had said?
I think for me, it was looking at within our own community. And I was at the time, because whilst I was working, I worked as a freelance in different, as an events, and I worked within food and what have you. And one of the things that I realized that there wasn't that much out there for the halal community, that catered for the halal community, and especially with restaurants as well. So I thought, why not create something that people can actually, I can bring to their house, rather than having to think about what restaurants to go to that are halal friendly. And therefore, I decided that this was something that I wanted to embark on to bring to the community, that we can still be able to have, you know, lovely meals that we aren't able to have in restaurants. For instance, like the Peking duck, right? Or the Peking duck, as people call it, when you go to Chinese restaurants. We can't have that because it's normally not halal. So for me, it was just about revolutionizing, transforming the way we cook and our relationship with food. Because when we spoke yesterday very briefly, and when we were talking about it, and I thought, when we cook the whole nutrients out of food. And for me, it was about retaining those nutrients, retaining those vitamins, retaining all of the goodness from the food, and bringing a different spin on dinner times. And that is exciting to me, because just before I even started my business, I worked with food banks back in 2009. And when people come through the door, and as you can appreciate from different walks of life, when they'd have food, they'll just wake up. And that feeling of knowing that somebody's come in and they're completely disheveled or completely, you know, down on their luck and what have you, but food seemed to give them that life and bring them alive. And just seeing that transformation, to me, is just very beautiful.
Right, so that's what sparked it when you were still working at the food bank?
Yeah, food banks kind of sparked it for me.
Yeah, and let's take a step back. So when you, without any experience, you saw this transformation that, you know, one feels with food. What did you do? What were your next steps? What were you thinking? How did you create this idea, make it come to fruition?
So I think for me, it was about, obviously having no experience in business and armed with passion, it was about how does one, and I was putting food parcels. So let me take it back. So when I worked in food banks, I'd put food parcels together anyway that we would distribute. So how different is it for me of putting a food parcel together in a form of a recipe box? What challenges that could be, and boy, was I completely wrong in that. Because when you're putting food parcels together, you're just putting ingredients together, right? But when you're putting recipe boxes together, you have to think about the recipe, and once you've created it and developed it, our customers able to recreate it. And I think I started off with food before I started off with anything else, because that was where my strength lied. But in terms of my strengths within operations or logistics, I didn't have that, and it was very much a trial and error thing. And we made lots of mistakes when we first started out, i.e. packing ingredients and the type of packaging that we were using, and the transportation of it, with the transportation using different delivery partners such as DHL. We used DPD, we used those are the only two that we used. And then I also used to deliver ingredient boxes myself as well. So I guess it was a trial and error, and not having fear in starting your business, and just going with the flow of the business and learning as you go along. And for me, I think that would be the biggest learning thing, that I allowed myself, rather than being a perfectionist, I allowed myself to make those mistakes, because I knew that I didn't have the experience, of running a business, let alone a food business. It was just about get it out there, create your recipes. You've done that part of it. Now you just have to pack them, put them in the boxes, and then deliver them out there. And of course, the ingredient sourcing as well was one of the biggest challenges as well for me, in terms of the types of ingredients we wanted to use and the types of brands that we wanted to use. And most of my tinned items are organic. Some of my vegetables are organic.
Right.
My meat is grass-fed. So all of those things I had to really research, and spent, I would say, a year and a half of researching the industry, understanding the industry, going to events, going to networking events, foodie festivals, conferences and so forth, to really immerse myself into the business before I even took that step.
Yeah, and so this is so you've really been mindful of the type of ingredients you've had. You mentioned organic and grass-fed meat, and actually that's really hard to find. Halal grass-fed meat locally, and you know, I think this is something you need to order online. So if you're packaging all of this in one box, that's great. How has that been responded?
It's been all this one, like I said, when we first started out, we did like an MVP model, which was like a minimum viable product, and we invited 40 people to a focus group where I just distributed those 40 boxes and had already eight recipes that I had developed, and from that I learned a lot from that experience in terms of the recipe development, the instructions, how easy they were, how long it took, from the ingredients, from the delivery, all of these different sort of areas within the business model itself. And that experience and that exercise taught me a lot for when I then officially launched. So I guess I could say that in October 2018 is when I created the MVP model, but we hadn't announced it on social media or announced it to the world, if you like. And that really helped me in informing how I was going to move forward with the mistakes and with all the learnings and the knowledge that I'd gained from doing the MVP model. So yeah, for me, I think it was getting it absolutely right, because at the end of the day, once you receive that recipe box and that recipe card and those ingredients, I won't be there, right? To tell you when to put in the onion or the ginger or the garlic or the meat and all the other ingredients. The recipe card should be able to be so easy that you'll be able to follow it without you having any issues in recreating that meal.
Yeah.
And the imagery as well. So for me, it was everything. I'm more of an artistic person, so that came naturally to me. Other parts of the business took a little bit longer, the logistics and the operations and the packing. That took me, it was very much a trial and error for me in that regard.
And Simon, it's important to recognise that you, around 2018, when you were starting the business, that really was a period where you were doing a lot of research through inviting people. And were there live demonstrations and things as well? Was there live? Did you?
I didn't do any live demonstrations. Very much send the box to customers, and then they will send us their feedback. So we had like a survey that we created, and through that survey we learned what we did, and we had those phone calls as well with some customers that were happy to have that phone call with us. So we didn't impose it, even though the boxes were distributed for free in exchange of sharing their experience with us. So I think I would say
testimonials as well.
I wouldn't say so much testimony. It's almost like a review of everything from start to finish, from the time they place the order on the website right through to the delivery of it and everything in between. The testimony was more about, what did they think and how they thought of it and what they thought of the meals and what have you. But for me, it was very much about the logistics of it, the operations, how things were packed. Was it easy? Did they understand how to use the ingredients? What the recipe card, did it correlate? Was the timings right? Because if you've got 35 minutes on a recipe card, but it's taking you 40 minutes, then of course we're not being true to the recipe itself, right? Because if you factored in, for instance, if you come from work at 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, you'll say, okay, I'm going to create this recipe. It says 35 minutes, but in actual fact, it's taking you 45 minutes. You're going to get annoyed, aren't you? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some of us are very time poor, so we
exactly. If you're time poor, then you're going to get annoyed with it. So for us, it was making sure that everything was spot on.
Yeah,
as much as it can be, alhamdulillah.
And Simon, I think this is a really important point. So whenever we're starting new businesses, we need to be quite giving, give those free products for research purposes. And you've done so much thorough research. I think it's really something that our listeners can take away to surveys, invite this mass audience as you did, follow-up calls, feedback, free products. So this is how your research element helped you then, evolve your product line, I presume.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. For me, because what we're doing is the customer at the center of what we do, right? So if anyone is starting a business, I would always say do your research and planning. Once you have that base, you can then move on to the next stage of your business and understand your business. But first and foremost, you need to be able to carry out those researches within your community or your desired audience that you're reaching out to. And it does mean that you need to outlay those costs, but those costs will pay off in the long run. Just to give you an idea, and I don't like to talk numbers or anything, but my MVP model cost me nearly £10,000.
Yeah.
That's research. But I
Right.
needed to put that money into the business for me to really understand, is this a business that has legs or not? Is this going to work or not? What is it that I need to learn from this experience and improve it? Not 100%, because you will never ever be 100% if you're looking for perfection. But as long as you know that you've got the rudiments of your business down to the best knowledge, you understand it, then the rest you can always, learn as you go along.
Yeah, and was it in response to this that you decided to go for things like the organic vegetables or grass-fed meat, or was this something that you?
No, that happened. That happened as I evolved. As I evolved, I've always wanted to have. I'm a bit of a food snob, so I've always wanted great ingredients in my recipe boxes, and that was, I would say, actually quite from the beginning. That wasn't something that I did as an afterthought. This is something that I always encourage and advocate: healthy eating, clean eating, balanced meals, understand your portion sizes. And this is all based on the Sunnah as well. If you think about our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he would say that 1/3 for food, 1/3 for air, and 1/3 for liquid, right? Now, we didn't completely follow that rule of thumb, but we loosely based it around that. So we looked at our dietary recommendations within Islam and the Quranic Bark, right?
Yeah.
And that also informed my decision as to what I wanted my boxes to look and feel like. Just for instance, to give you an idea, we enforce one vegetarian meal in our boxes, and I lost 50% of my customers. 50%
Did
of my
you?
customers around my life.
Why was
Yeah,
that? Why
I
do you?
enforced it. Why? Because I felt that we're a business, that I want to be a conscious business, and I wanted to educate our community, empower them with vegetarian meals. Because what I noticed is, when I started out, people were ordering 5 meats on a weekly basis, and I
Yeah.
thought, this is not the way of the teaching of Islam or the teaching of the Sunnah for us to eat meat every single day like that.
Yeah, I actually meant why the loss? Why was it not why was it not received well? I'm surprised.
It wasn't, because obviously our community, they eat meat
Meat.
every single day,
Yeah.
and only through education, only to my own, and I'm still learning. Don't get me wrong, I have no authority over it at all whatsoever. But the only authority that I would say that I have is, there's nowhere written in Islam that we should be eating 5. If anything, it says that you should only eat meat once or twice, and you should have a balanced meal, a mixture of your meat, fish, vegetables. And that's what I wanted to bring to the community. And now they have really warmed to the idea. If anything, some of the customers I'd lost came back and said now they understand why it is important to at least even have one vegetarian meal.
I do
Because
that as well. Yeah.
if you're always eating meat, you're not getting all the other benefits from your vegetables that your body should be receiving.
Yeah.
Because your body isn't designed to eat meat every single day. It's not designed that way.
And Simon, we've become so conscious of this because I think we are so much more better educated. There's so much like plant-based. We've had a guest actually. She was a plant-based expert as well, and so I think we are conscious of this. I myself have implemented changes like this as well. For example, I've cut meat, and and I'll make sure I'll incorporate. If I have meat lunchtime, then my evening meal will be vegetable based. So this is something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, small changes, because I thought it was a bit weird how I'm eating chicken, say, for example, during the day, and then during the night I'll have fish, and I just feel like there's too much protein, mix of different proteins, which I didn't really sit comfortably with me. And as long as you've got a good balanced diet, it works, isn't it?
Absolutely, it does. And I think it's vital having a relationship with food and opening yourself up to food. Just to give you an idea, a pumpkin is such a rare fruit vegetable, depending on who I'm speaking to, because some people say the pumpkin is a fruit, some say it's a vegetable. So just to sort of be, to take in the different members' audience that you have, like pumpkin is a lesser vegetable seen in Muslim households, but the amount of benefit that vegetable has, and it's even in the Quran, it's even the Prophet, one of Prophet's, peace and blessings be upon him, favorite food. So I looked at some of the foods that were loved by our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and looked at the wisdom behind these fruits and vegetables that he would say that are the core of any diet. And it's so true. Look at olive oil and olives, right?
Yeah.
It's a Mediterranean diet. So these are the things that we took into consideration when we're developing recipes. But going back to what you were saying, I think having a balanced meal does wonders to your mind, body, and soul, especially your mind, because food is mood for me. That's how I see food, you know?
Yeah.
When you eat good, you feel good. That's
Yeah.
it. You know, once you've had a McDonald's burger, and let's say we've all had a filet of fish, right? I know once I've had it, I always don't feel 100% good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you know that it's not natural. But when you eat good food, you feel it. You can feel it. It's your body. It's an intuition thing. It's intuitive. Being when you're in one with your diet, in your, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to remind the listeners that they can join in. So we're talking to the founder of It's Halal. Saima is with us, Saima Duhari. You can call us on 01733 602 133, or you can text us on 074 1062. Do get involved. We'll talk about healthy eating. And Saima's based her business, and some of the things that we've touched on are some of the Islamic values that you've incorporated in your business. And just for our listeners who are not from our faith, there are certain foods mentioned in the Quran, and they're mentioned in our holy book, and they've been referenced in various chapters. So some of the ones that you've and also the way we should need to eat as well. So these are some of the values that you wanted to incorporate in your recipe box. Is that right, Saima?
Absolutely. And I think it's really important for me to do that, because it's about, we've lost that. And I wouldn't say that everyone has, but we have. We've lost the reason for food is to fuel our bodies. And if you fuel it the correct way, there's more longevity. You feel lighter. When you overeat, you feel heavier, right?
Yeah.
This is why that wisdom of 1/3 for air, 1/3 for food, and 1/3 for liquid is because of that. Because overeating is akin to alcohol. I was watching this by Yusuf. I can't remember the name of the preacher, if the word that I can use, or the imam. Actually, the imam, I should say. Mm-hmm. And he nailed it. He said that the way that we eat meat, it's almost as if we're getting drunk on it.
Wow, intoxicate ourselves. Wow, okay.
We're intoxicating ourselves, and that in itself is an addiction, and it's not the right addiction. And and that made so much sense to me. It really did, because we are addicted to meat.
Yes.
And addiction isn't something that is promoted within Islam, right? And if you're eating meat every day, that is an addiction in itself.
And so I think what's happened is that we've got so comfortable eating a particular way. So when we have, a business like yours, they're teaching us how to do things, a different way. And did you have any resistance from the community, especially our community, and probably other cultures that are so designed to eat a particular way?
I don't think the only resistance was when I enforced the vegetarian meal. I did have that resistance where I lost 50% of my customers, and we stuck by it, because for me it wasn't about, of course, when you run a business, it's just to do with money and so forth, but it was more than that. For me, that was the only resistance that I had, and that's when I quickly learned that I needed to educate and empower our community as to why I've enforced this. What was the reasoning behind it? This is what, if you look at plant-based diets, right, there are so many recipe boxes out there, or so many restaurants who are now just focusing on plant-based or vegan. Why is that? If you look at village life, right, village food, I call it desi food, right? Mm-hmm. It comes from the village. And if you look at village people, they mostly eat a plant-based diet.
Yeah, they
That's
do.
what the diet is. They have a plant-based diet, predominantly is a plant-based diet. And if you look at village people and you look at their longevity of life, it's much longer, and they're much more healthier as well, especially the village that I come from, Yeah. And I see that. And for me, I want to incorporate that and educate people. And my customers now, alhamdulillah, they love the recipes that we create. We use black rice, which you wouldn't normally cook with or even know about. Some people, of course, do.
No, I've
some
never
don't.
used
Black
it.
rice.
Wow.
Yeah, red rice, bulgur wheat, couscous, these grains and fibers. So you need to have a mixture, because every food has its benefit. So why not reap those benefits from food? Because your body is designed for it.
And Simon, I also want to touch on your mindset, because I was watching an interview back in 2018. At that point, you had said, having, you were quite immersed in your, and with the research and doing the business, but you didn't see yourself as an entrepreneur. How have you transformed your mindset to to now, I'm presuming you do believe you're definitely an entrepreneur, quite an award-winning one as well. So what's helped with that transition?
I don't even actually, you know what, Iram, I still don't think I'm an entrepreneur. Honestly, I don't. I still don't think I am. I don't think I can label myself as that. I think I'm just somebody who's just passionate about what I do. And for me, if that means it's an entrepreneurial way of thinking, then that's what it is. But for me, I still don't think that. I think what I've evolved and changed and understood from my business, that I've learned so much about myself as the business has grown, what I've become because of my business, and that is I've become more resilient, I've become more pragmatic, I've become more, what's the word I'm looking for, ambitious in what I want to do and how I want to communicate what I'm doing. Besides food, I always say that we're a lifestyle box, it's a lifestyle choice.
I love that.
And for me, that's what we are. And as an entrepreneur, what does that mean to me? I still don't understand what that means, honestly. I know what it means, but I still don't think I am an entrepreneur.
Fabulous. Simon, we're just going on a break. Sorry to interrupt you. We'll be back shortly, and we're going to discuss more about Simon's journey to self-discovery. Speak then. Bye-bye.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Could you spare a few hours each month to provide support to people who are going through tough times? If so, Peterborough Samaritans are looking for volunteers who are empathetic and open-minded, and we'd love to hear from you. We run regular information sessions where you can find out more about what it means to volunteer for Samaritans. If you are at least 18 years of age and would like to know more, please email volunteer@peterboroughsamaritans.org.
Asia Restaurant gives you the unique fusion of flavours from Turkey, Iraq, Syria and Iran. Our shish kebabs are grilled on a charcoal barbecue for that authentic taste. Lamb shanks, fresh shawarma, chili kebab, lamb shish, grilled chicken, freshly made baklava and so much more. Eat in or order through Peterborough Eats or Peterborough Grab. Asia Restaurant, 5 Fitzwilliam Street, Peterborough, PE1 2RU. Call us on 01733 562 530. Great prices, great quality. Why not come and find out for yourself? Asia Restaurant, the true taste of the Middle East.
Where can you get high quality and low prices? Amar Food Store and Halal Meat in Lincoln Road, Triangle is the place to go. Pay us a visit and take advantage of our special offers and great range of products on groceries, vegetables, fruits and halal meat. Also send money to Pakistan absolutely free. We have all top brands at special offers, offer free customer parking and provide a free local delivery service. Amar Food Store and Halal Meat, 613B Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Call us on 01733 687 374. High in quality, low in prices.
Are you looking for a career where you can make a difference? At Cross Keys Homes, we work with our local communities to create opportunities that change lives. We're looking for enthusiastic, talented people to join our team, from apprenticeships to senior management positions. Cross Keys Homes can support your development while you enjoy great employee benefits. There are so many opportunities for you to shine. Apply to join the Cross Keys Homes team at crosskeyshomes.co.uk.
Worried your tenants could stop paying their rent during this cost of living crisis? Next Move Estate and Letting Agents are offering landlords 12 months rent in advance. You'll get your rent paid for the whole year in advance. No strings attached. Too good to be true? It really is that simple. So get in touch with us today for this extremely limited offer. Call Next Move now on 01733 641 642 to find out how we can help.
At Cake Inn, all our cakes and slices are freshly baked for that delicious taste. At Cake Inn, we bake 100% vegetarian and halal eggless fresh cream cakes. Delicious flavoured cakes for birthdays and weddings, ceremonies and all other occasions, with free customised messages, even balloons and candles too. Order for delivery or collection from Cake Inn, 489 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PE, and your cake could be ready within 2 hours. Find out more and order online at cakeinn.co.uk or call 01733 496 584.
If you have an idea for a show and want to get involved, email info@salamradio.co.uk.
Hello, welcome back to the Winning Women Show. This is the showcase where I showcase trailblazing. Oh, sorry, I haven't got my microphone. Sorry. Hello, welcome to the Winning Women Show. This is the show where I showcase trailblazing women to you. Sorry, I didn't have my microphone in front of me. To inspire you and motivate you in your journey to success. I am Iram Shah. Every fortnight, I bring to you a new female guest from a variety of different fields. Now, as networking is so important to progress yourself, I wanted to bring to you one of the finalists for the upcoming award show, Savira Awards, which is being held in London in just a couple of weeks' time. We have the finalist, one of the finalists. I bring Saima Duhari, the founder of It's Halal. So we've already had half an hour with Saima where she's talked about going with the flow, allowing herself to make mistakes, and turning a business from no experience into an award-winning business. So let's talk some more. Hello, Saima.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi. I can hear you.
Good. Simon, we're just going to get the listeners involved as well. You can call us on 01733 602 133, or you can text us on 07411 191062. I forgot to mention it's also live streaming on Facebook, and you can comment there for Simon to receive your comments. If you've subscribed to the box, not subscribed, if you've had food, if you've ordered this before, then it would be great for you to comment and let us know. And actually, this also brings me on to your price model. You had Simon, this is a non-subscription box. What was the thought behind this?
The non-subscription?
It's non-subscription.
Again, it's non-subscription because I didn't want people to get tied into it. And you know what our community are like. I know what I'm like, for instance. I don't like to get tied into anything unless it's Netflix, my mobile phone, and my gym, right? Those are the only three things I'll get tied into. Anything else I have to question before I even decide to tie myself into. And I thought, why am I going to tie people into something? I'd rather that they could freely enjoy the boxes and be able to order as and when they want to, without them having to feel that they need to subscribe to something. Because for me, it was about building trust with my community, and it was about nurturing that with my community, and then offering them whether or not they want to become a subscriber to the recipe box. And in all honesty, alhamdulillah, it's worked very well without being a subscription box. And most people say having a subscription helps with the cash flow and what have you, but so far I haven't had any issues with that. Alhamdulillah, of course, there are challenges, financially speaking, if I'm going to be honest with you, because everything is self-funded from my pocket, and of course my mother helps me as well. But for me, I just didn't want that as a business model. Maybe down the line it was something that I will consider, but right now people come, they order, and that way they don't have to worry about did they pause, did they cancel, because I know sometimes we also forget these things, right?
Yeah.
And for example, if you forgot to cancel but you're away that weekend and a box arrives, A, the food's gone to waste, B, you've got a disgruntled customer. And those are the things that I didn't want to bring into the business just yet.
Yeah. And also, I think quite right, if you are guilty like me to we subscribe to things, these trials, and then we forget about them. So I think gym's one of them for sure. So a lot of subscriptions. Yeah. So actually this is quite refreshing not to have this, and just order it, like you say, be quite flexible and just order it at your own pace. So this is
exactly. I mean, absolutely. I've got a gym membership, and if I tell you, I think 6 months of it I don't even go to it, but I pay into it every month, right?
Yeah.
And that those sort of silly little financial mistakes that one makes. But I didn't want the same with food, because if you've delivered with food, then that food is going to go to waste. And I am very big on no food wastage. And it's something, again, recipe boxes are great because there is no food wastage. I mean, statistically, it says that we waste up to between 30 to 60 pounds a month on food.
Yeah, and I would
Right.
believe that, yeah, because I'm always stocking up on things that I think I'm going to cook, but when the time comes, you just don't.
And you can't.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I didn't want to contribute to that. So I'd rather not have the subscription base. But inshallah, we are looking into it, because I've had customers now have said, Simon, please make it a subscription. So it's something that we will look at, but it's not a priority for me.
Yeah. So this is the waste. So wastage. Making sure you wanted to contribute to that as well, to ensure that there was less wastage. And and you mentioned earlier in the first part of the show the packaging as well, different things. What sort of thoughts did you have to consider for that?
The packaging, I'll tell you, was one of the biggest challenges, because at the time I wanted to use like brown paper bags, the ones that you get from the corner shop and what have you. Mm-hmm. So I used those, and we learned very quickly in our MVP model that we were packing all of the vegetables, such as coriander, all of the herbs, the vegetables, and some of the herbs, by the time if the customer received them, the herbs would die, right? Oh. They would wilt, I should say, because herbs are a living organism. And so you'd find that because they didn't get the breathing that they needed from plastic with the holes in there, right, recyclable, I should say, that's what I learned very quickly. So then I had to look at my packaging, and it was a decision that I make. Do you buy packaging that's not environmentally friendly, but it's cheaper? Or do you buy packaging that is environmentally friendly, but you pay more? And then, of course, I went with the latter, because for me, it's a planet that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, and we're going to be accountable for it when we meet him one day, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
These are the other things that from a morally point of view, from ethics and from an Islamic point of view, I had to look into that as well. But the first packaging that we had was, I would say, was partially I wouldn't say a disaster, but it was definitely a learning curve, because everything was packed in brown paper bags, and that just didn't work.
And Samuel,
especially for some vegetables and herbs.
Yeah, and I can believe that, actually, because herbs in particular, I think I've always found that if I put them in a little bit of water, then they work, otherwise they die.
Exactly.
Yeah, and what other setbacks did you have starting up, and even as you've evolved in your journey?
I think the other setback was the fact that I was called Halal Fresh, and I got into muddy waters with another big business, which I won't mention.
Oh, right.
And that was another sort of a learning curve, because I didn't look at the IPO, about the name itself, because I didn't know for when you do trademark and what have you. So that's something that I learned. So that's definitely, I would say to people, if you're looking to trademark your business, do your research prior to it and see whether or not you're going to step on someone's toes.
Yeah,
step on someone's toes, and definitely have somebody that is legally more savvy than you are, because you can do all the reading on research on Google and YouTube videos, but they're just someone that's not enough knowledge. You need to speak to somebody who you can speak to and be able to receive advice from and ask questions to give you that. And all of these things are very expensive, and I cut corners there, and that sort of bit me in the long run. That did.
And then you had to change your whole name, branding, everything alongside.
I had to change my whole name and my branding and everything. We went to court for 2 years. We were battling very secretly. I didn't announce it on social media or anything, because it was in the background whilst I was still running my business. And at that time, it was very stressful for me. But I continued with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praying for guidance and so forth. And I think for me, one of the biggest things I've learned is just to throw yourself into things, learn from them, don't fear it, have faith in your journey, know your purpose as to why you're doing it, because there are days that you just want to hide and Netflix, but what keeps you going is the discipline, because motivation doesn't always work, or the enthusiasm. So it's the discipline of what you're doing and the purpose of what you're doing that keeps you going in life. Why are you doing this? And I know why I am, because I want to transform and revolutionize the way people cook and eat at home, be the go-to brand when they think of healthy, convenient, home-cooked, clean meals, cooking from scratch, knowing exactly what you're putting into your body.
Oh, I love that.
What are the benefits of these? what are the benefits of this food? How am I feeling when I eat something? These are the things I even ask myself, you know, and that's what I want to be able to part that with my community. For instance, I had somebody who said that they used to suffer from migraines, and I don't claim to be a business that will take away your migraine or anything, or take away your asthma. But I had customers who said, Simon, I stopped having migraines, or my husband doesn't suffer from the asthma attacks that he used to have. And these are not the claims that I make, but the claim I make is eat good and eat clean, balanced, portion size, and honestly, it will help you. Coupled with going to the gym, having physical exercises, you know, it does wonders for you. And why do you think in Islam we have intermittent fasting? You know, now people talk about it, but this is in 1400 years ago. You know, Mondays and Thursdays, there's a reason behind all of these wisdoms. And I've gone back to that.
Yeah. And how, and most of your clients or customers, are they generally from a Muslim community? Have you also, what about the non-Muslim community? Have they received this well as well?
No, I because my marketing is geared predominantly towards the Muslim community.
Yeah.
So 99% is Muslim. I have non-Muslims, which, well, they're still the Muslims, they're reverts.
Right.
Black reverts, Chinese reverts, white reverts. Who else have I had? Italian reverts. So they tend to use my recipe boxes, but I don't have non-Muslims at all.
And Simon, your recipes are quite a large range as well, isn't it? And so, was that your favourite foods? How did you think of these recipes?
So I grew up in a household, just to give you an idea, my grandmother and my mom would always cook all different foods. And for me, it was very natural to create these types of cuisines and recipes. And I'm such a foodie, as I said to you, and I love going to restaurants. Honestly, if someone said to me, Simon, you could have £3,000 Prada bag, or you can have £3,000 worth of food for a whole year. You can go to all different restaurants. I know which one I'm going for, right? Food. And so for me, honestly, like developing different cuisines from different recipes from different cuisines, it's just something that I just love. I love experimenting and adding a desi twist to it, you know.
Which is what we do at home, don't we? We do that at home anyway.
Yeah, exactly. We do that. And I don't want to do desi food because I know I'm going to get compared to someone's mom, and I don't think I'm ready for that backlash. Do you know what I mean? Somebody says, my mother makes a better keema aloo than you do, you know, or gobi aloo, you know? And I thought, no, I'm not going to go down that route. So there's no point me doing desi food because we can, you know, cook that already. So why not bring something different to the table that people can enjoy and learn new skills as well? Like we have pizza. We have Argentinian food, Brazilian food, Mexican food, Italian, Spanish, Russian. Just to give you an idea. And all of these foods are, for me, it's exciting. And for customers, it's exciting as well.
Yeah. And I really
go home and cook something different.
Exactly. And even I find that with food, you can teach people culture. You can teach your family culture. So I do that with my own children. We experiment by going to all different cuisines. But it's so nice if you can just come to your house and you can create that cuisine experience yourself.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes it more exciting, dinner times. And that's another thing. My aim is to bring back the joy of cooking because, you know, before, I mean, of course, obviously being a foodie, and I had so many recipes under my repertoire, but statistically, people have between 6 to 8, maybe 10 recipes that they have, and they just change up, right? And then for me, I think, no, we should be able to be more experimentative and be more creative at dinner time because it's your last meal of the day. It's the meal that you're going to sleep on. It's the meal that's going to feed your soul, going to feed your brain with. So eat well before you sleep. You know, there's an argument right now. Is breakfast the most important meal or is it dinner? And now it's come to the conclusion that dinner is the most important meal of the day now. It's not the breakfast anymore. Breakfast has lost its allure.
Yeah, and I think dinner, like you're rightly in saying that's the time when it brings the family together. We may have lunch by ourselves, you know, kids are normally at school, but I think evening time in particular is where everyone comes together. And where's your vision with this? Where do you see your business? Where do you want to take this?
Inshallah, I want to conquer every kitchen in the UK. Inshallah, yeah. And then beyond. I'm looking at other parts of Europe where there's a large percentage of Muslims, such as France, Germany is the two places I'm looking at the moment, and in conversing with people within those fields who I've approached, and they've approached me, alhamdulillah. So my vision is to conquer is to conquer.
And you know,
and
actually,
to completely change it.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Simon, that my sister's moved to France, and she's not finding many there at all in terms of halal food. So there is a lack. So I think that would be great if you expand and venture out into different European countries. There are so many places where food is not, halal meat is not readily available, perhaps, or all these different halal cuisines.
Absolutely, and I think what it's down to also, is convenience. We become more and more time poor. More and more information is thrown at us, so more and more we're tricked to believe that we don't have the time. So we need to make meals that are 30 minutes, 45 minutes. But I believe that when you take self-care into account, right, you spend that much more time in looking after yourself, because your health is your number one, right?
Yeah.
So for me, creating meals between 30 to 45 minutes is justified, because we live in a time where we want everything so quickly. People say, why don't you do ready-made meals? And I say right now, it's not something that I would go into. Maybe in the future, inshallah. But for me, I enjoy the freshness of what I do.
Yeah.
That's what I enjoy doing the most. When people cook meals from scratch, come home and so forth, yeah.
Simon, I also want to touch on, over the last few years, since you've set up your business, you have been in the press, you've received various awards. How important has that been for your business?
I think it's good to get recognized, because sometimes you become such I wouldn't say a hermit, but because you're so immersed in your own business, that sometimes it's good that you are recognized for it. It gives you, how can I put it? It's good for the soul, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's good that you're recognized for what you're doing, and people can see that you're striving and you're achieving, alhamdulillah, and you're inspiring other people. I think it's important, but I don't think it is the center of why you do what you do for those reasons. It's nice when it happens, but don't always forget the purpose of why you're doing it, and other things like that then just come into play. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But it's great. I mean, like now,
Recognition.
I've been shortlisted. Recognition by Safera, which is alhamdulillah, I'm really humbled by that. And other women that have also been selected within those arenas as well. They're all great women with all great businesses and great inspiration. And we're in a very good times right now, where people are now, what COVID has taught us, the pandemic has taught us, that we need to be self-reliant, self-sufficient, and go out there and not be fearful, and go out there and just do what is it that you enjoy doing. And whether you fail or don't fail, at least you've tried. And that to me is the most nicest thing that you can do for yourself, is try.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And I want to enforce, one of the reasons I wanted you to come today was because as the awards approach, I want to reinforce how important networking it has been for my own business. How have you found that how has it helped you in collaboration, creating a teamwork, and just exchanging ideas?
I think networking is really important.
And we've lost you a little bit, Simon. Can you hear? Can you come close?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. No, networking is really important, to network with your community, to understand your community, because that's who you're catering to at the end of the day, firstly, right? And also fostering relationships with your community. Just to give you an idea, I collaborated with Lauren Booth, for instance, right, on a Ramadan series a couple of years ago. And that was excellent, because it meant that by collaborating with her, she opened up a whole new audience for me who didn't know of my business. And every week I would present different meals and the benefits of them during Ramadan, the foods, again, loved by the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. And I met so many different people through that. From that, I got Orphans in Need, where I collaborated with them, again, for a Ramadan series, talking about foods. So that is the importance, because it's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
People see what you do and people want to work with you, and that to me is really special. It means that people believe in what you're doing, and that's the nicest thing about it. More than the whole outward sort of gratification is the fact that people believe in what you're doing and want to work with you, and that is really humbling, and it's a nice feeling.
Yeah, and you're visible to them, so because you are your brand, aren't you?
You are your brand, and at the end of the day, it's the way you walk your brand, and you've got to walk with integrity, you've got to walk with passion, you've got to walk with conviction, and you've got to walk with just that fearlessness and not arrogance, and be humble. And these are the things that I've learned in my business. One of the major things that I've learned in my business. It's very humbling, and you've got to be, gratitude is definitely up there. You know, all of these teachings are in Islam, and I'm looking at that a lot more than I ever have done before. And for me, that's such a beautiful thing, you know.
Yes, and just so some of the things that we've touched on. If somebody, what advice would you give to somebody who's got something that they're thinking of, but perhaps they're worried about competition? Because even what you've set up, Simon, there are other things there. But from from our conversation, what I'm seeing is that you've created a real nice niche for yourself, something which makes you stand out. What would you say to others who are thinking of turning their passion into a business?
Research your market, network within your market, go to as many networking events within your industry and outside of your industry, because you can learn how people do different things within different industries, first and foremost. And then by executing that, you will then be able to move on to your journey and just speak to people, and don't be afraid. And don't be afraid of competition, because I won't do what you do the same way that I do the way that I do things, right? It's like dal, for instance, and this is the best analogy that I can give. Dal has 5 ingredients, the basics. How I make it and how you make it will be different. And I tested it with my mom, actually, funny enough. I said to my mom, you make dal and I'll make dal exactly the same way, and even it tastes the same, right? And that is what I would say. Don't be afraid of competition. If anything, embrace your competition, understand your competition, improve from what they're doing, and just go out there and just do it. That's the only advice that I can give. But do your research, understand your market, understand why you're doing it, because it is a lonely place to be as a solo businesswoman, as I'd like to say.
Yeah.
It can be very, very lonely, and have the network of support of your friends and your family. And that's what's kept me going, because there's days, honestly, around where I've cried, thinking, I can't do this. I can't get up. I can't get out of bed. Can I do this? And I'll get on the masala and say, Ya Allah Ta'ala, help me, guide me, please. And that, to me, hold on to your faith is definitely one up there, I would say. And ask Allah Ta'ala to guide you, and do it with passion and love.
And Simon,
that's what I can say.
Simon, what fears are you conquering to help you expand and grow and progress as a woman in business?
I think I have some of my insecurities. Am I good enough to do this? And some people say it's imposter syndrome. I don't think it is. I think it's just about where you are in your journey. How do you scale up? Am I capable of scaling up? What does that look like? What do I need to do? Those are the fears that I have. And by putting them into bite size is the only way I can do it, because you get overwhelmed otherwise. And that's what I've learned, because sometimes I look at the whole picture, and then I just thought, no, what I need to, I see the whole picture. I just now need to understand, how am I going to put that puzzle together, right?
Yeah.
And that might not be the right way. It might be the wrong way. And allow yourself to make those mistakes. When I went back to what I said to you earlier on, it's about, because we're such perfectionists as people are, and we want to do the best that we can. I'm now learning, just do it. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, what did you learn, and how can you make it better? That's what I'm learning right now in my self-discovery and my self-growth.
I love that, Simon. There's so many people that are listening, and I know a lot of people sort of comment later as well, and then message me privately, and they'll get a chance to get to know more about your product. So if people want to know a little bit more about your product, it's halal, how can they find you? How can they know more?
So I'm on Facebook. It's Halal UK, I think it is on there. I'm so sorry, Ram. I'm so terrible with social media. I'm getting better at it right now. I'm so sorry. I didn't even know how to use Instagram when I first started. I had to, actually, one of my customers taught me how to use Instagram.
I still don't know how to use it. It's just it's a bit of a minefield.
You know what, honestly, she said to me, no, Summer, this is how you upload stories. Okay, so how do I do this? So Facebook it's Halal UK. On Instagram, it's Halal Official.
Okay.
And I'm more active on Instagram than I am on Facebook. And just follow us and, follow our stories. I'm always putting stuff on there. We've got a newsletter that people can subscribe to. It says the word subscribe, but don't worry, you're not subscribing to the business or anything or the subscription boxes. You're just subscribing to a newsletter, and see what we send out. We send 2 newsletters out, and in there we'll have nice sort of antidotes in there, or we'll give tips on there how to stay healthy, or what kind of smoothies to have, or what kind of fruits to eat during some, different seasons, what sort of foods to look at, what are the top, foods to eat, what's in, which I don't believe what's in food, because every food should be in. There's no such thing as one day it's kale and next day it's avocado. Do you know what I mean? Because every season serves its fruits and its vegetables and the purpose for it. So yeah, to sign up to the newsletter. And if you're looking to receive a discount, just send us a message on Instagram or on Facebook, and then we'll be more than happy to offer a discount to your viewers as well, inshallah, if they want to try the box.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much. So, listeners, we are coming to the last couple of minutes of our show. There's so much to take away from this interview, and I feel like even I need to go back. I love that, Asima, you've created a business around your spiritual beliefs, using food that's mentioned in the Quran as well, our holy book as Muslims. You've mentioned also how your spiritual belief has helped you during those challenging times and kept you going, as well as the purpose. And I think what I really liked was that you've done a lot of research at the beginning, but you just went with the flow. You mentioned earlier on, you went with the flow and allowed yourself to make those mistakes. There's so much to learn from. Any last few words before we finish off in the next 50 seconds?
I think the last thing I would say is that if you have any doubt in yourself, don't doubt it. Doubt it. Actually, if you're going to doubt yourself and you've already thought about it, it means that you're already on your way to doing what you want to do. Doubt is a good thing. Doubt yourself is a good thing, because doubt is where you become resilient. Doubt is where you start to learn. Doubt is what makes you propel further. Because when I doubt myself, I think, no, yes, I can do it. I'm going to do it. Do you know what I mean? That's what I would say. I would say just go with it, and just don't be afraid of it. Because what's the worst thing that can happen to you?
Thank you.
You can either fail and learn, or you can succeed.
Fantastic.
Those are the only two things I would say.
Thank you very much, Simon. Sorry to interrupt you there. We are finishing the Winning Women show today. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.